कमालिही कशफ़द्दुजा बिजमालिही हसून जमीयो खिसालिही सल्लु अलैहि वालिही सल्ले अला नबीना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला नबीना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला हबीबिना सल्ले अला सल्ले अला इमामिना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला नबीना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला हबीबिना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. अल्लाह ताला के फजलों की बारिश,
the rainfall of the blessings of Allah the Almighty, according to the promises of Allah the Almighty, a community of the true servants of the Holy Prophet benefit from these blessings. I mentioned this in the report at Jalsa, the annual convention, and I said it was impossible to encompass all the comments in a short space of time. I tried to cover how Allah the Almighty graced us, how Allah the Almighty infused in the hearts of so many people regarding the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, how Allah the Almighty reinvigorates and strengthens the faith, how Allah the Almighty causes the opponents to fail. There are countless accounts in these respects that people write. Today as well, I will relate some of these, because these accounts are also a means for many Ahmadis to really strengthen their faith. how Allah the Almighty, through various means of tabligh or propagating the message, is bringing righteous and good people into the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and establishing new local chapters. In this regard, from Congo Kinshasa, where we have an FM radio, there the local missionary Hamid Sahib has written the following. After listening to our radio program in the city, the local imam of the mosque, Isa Sahib, contacted us. After this, he came to our mission house. He understood the message of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat and he did the bayat, the oath of allegiance. Not only did he do the oath of allegiance, the bayat, in fact, in Gariba in Deri, his village, he went and started doing tabligh, propagating the message. As a result of his preaching, 24 people entered into Ahmadiyyat. When our local missionary went for a visit thereafter, 8 further people did the bayat, the oath of allegiance. And this is how a local chapter of the Ahmadiyya community was established. On the one side, there are good-hearted imams or Muslim leaders who listen to the message, understand it, and Allah graces them to understand. Then there are the Pakistani Muslim clerics who know only to do opposition and nothing else. In a province of Congo Kinshasa, Naimdombe, in a village, a local missionary, Muallim, started preaching. There is also a mosque of the Wahhabi sect where they went to. They started distributing leaflets to these people, and some mischievous youngsters came outside the mosque and started raising a hue and cry and started throwing stones and rocks. Now, people raise allegations that people in Africa are ignorant or uneducated, but you can see that people don't always accept things straight away. They also oppose. So the young people started throwing stones, but they continued their tabligh, their preaching to the others. The public, they were quite impressed by the patience and tolerance showed by the Ahmadis. Some amongst them who had left once again returned to the mosque and then started listening again. They started asking questions about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and started getting answers to their questions. One youngster who was mischievous and was speaking quite ill said, "You people go to London and do the Hajj, the pilgrimage, whereas the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, always did the Hajj pilgrimage in Makkah." The local missionaries asked a question that, how many Hajj did the Holy Prophet perform? Upon this youngster stated, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, since he was born or young, he did all the Hajj. Upon this, the local missionary said, the Holy Prophet only did one Hajj or pilgrimage. The other Imam and the other elders started speaking ill and said, "You people are creating strife." Anyhow, those people who were creating strife got embarrassed by their own people telling them off. So later, the Imam, local leader, took the group to his own home. There were 2 other Aima or Imams or Muslim leaders, as well as other people in that gathering. So around 40 or 45 people were present there. And they all became so impressed by the preaching of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. They did the bayat, the oath of allegiance, and a new chapter of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community was established in Guinea-Bissau. Imam Tamanne has related that until today, what we had heard about the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat is that you do not believe in the Holy Prophet nor the Holy Quran. However, today we witnessed the proceedings of the Jalsa, and as a result of the blessings of the Jalsa Salana, we saw your Khalifa, your Caliph, and we heard him. He advised us based on the Holy Prophet and the Holy Quran. So today I was absolutely convinced that it is false propaganda being spread against the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, and it is always false propaganda that is spread against truly divine communities. So the Imam of that local mosque continued and said, "Today I enter into the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat and I will preach to all my people With the grace of the Almighty Allah, he is carrying out this tabligh or propagation of the message, and new local chapters are being established through his propagation. So our opponents, including those in Pakistan, should not merely just oppose us. In fact, they should listen to our teachings, they should understand it, then whatever objections you have, you should then respond. This is what the promised Messiah has said. That first listen and reflect on what I am saying. Amir Saab, National President of the Ahmadiyya community, Liberia, explains how despite opposition, Allah the Almighty continues to help us. He says 2 years ago in a local town, Ganegle, some people entered into Ahmadiyyat. They were previously from a Christian background, or perhaps they had no religion. After doing the bet, the oath of allegiance, they were taught in a courtyard. To our local missionary Mirza Sahib, or one day Mirza Sahib, our local missionary, he appealed to people for prayers, that Allah the Almighty should grant us an opportune place to build a mosque. This is a place which is filled with Christians and people who follow no religion. They do not hold positive thoughts towards Muslims. So it was very difficult to acquire suitable land for a mosque. So they continued these efforts. But one day, an individual who was a person who followed no religion, he did not even believe in the existence of God. He was sitting there, this non-Muslim, and stood up and said, since the local missionary has started visiting our village, I have seen excellent conduct and morals and behavior. He meets everyone nicely. He eats from the same plate and place we eat. I do not believe in God. I am an alcoholic, yet he sits next to me and asks about me and my well-being. I have never seen someone display such morals before. I have a plot of land, and I had intended to build my house upon this. Today, I hand over this plot of land for the building of the mosque. So a short while later, he actually did the bet, the Pledge of Allegiance. He left drinking alcohol. A revolution overtook him, and he kept on increasing in his level of devotion and goodness to such a degree that people thought that what he has transformed into a different man altogether. Then work for the construction of the mosque began. People opposed to the chief that they should not let a mosque be built there. However, this individual said bravely, I have given a plot of land and a mosque will be built here. So the mosque was completed. And this is the first mosque called Baitul Nur, the Mosque of Light, that is built in this area. So this is how non-Muslim and even those who hold atheistic thoughts, those who are atheists or agnostic, they even, with the grace of the Almighty Allah, not only are coming to believe in the existence of God, in fact, they are coming to believe Islam as a true religion and accepting it. From Burundi, there is a town, Nyanzalak. There is a lot of opposition against the Jamaat because there are a lot of Muslims in this area. The Sunni Imam or leader of the mosque tried in every way to try and have the Ahmadi mosque closed. He even met government officials. However, his schemes did not come to fruition. Our local missionary Hamza Sahib, he was called by this local imam or leader for questions and answers. There was a debate about the death of Jesus. When the local missionary explained and proved the death of Jesus from the verses of the Quran, these Muslim clerics could not respond. They started fighting and quarreling with this Ahmadi and started hurling edicts of disbelief or fatwas. So then, someone stood up and promised this Muslim cleric or Maulvi and said that you do not understand Islam, but these Ahmadis are true Muslims. This was a non-Muslim who stood up. So then these Maulvis, a Muslim cleric, started fighting amongst one another, and they had to try and break them up. And the government closed down their mosque for 3 months. And they tried to close down our mosque, but in contrast, their mosque was closed down officially by the government. Now, as an actual conspiracy, this scheme is being utilized by so-called Muslim clerics to try and have Ahmadi mosques closed. Just like in Pakistan, they are trying this elsewhere. If the mosques are not closed, then they try and say to fell the minarets. Now, in the constitution of Pakistan, nowhere does it say that Ahmadis are not allowed to build minarets. However, these governments, before these so-called Muslim clerics, tremble and are forced to follow their every whims. Anyhow, they are trying to cause us harm in some way or the other. Inshallah, God willing, all of this will come to an end. In Pakistan, we have restrictions from publishing the Holy Quran, let alone the translations, of which there is no question to publish. We cannot even publish the Holy Quran. Even to publish the Holy Quran is a crime in Pakistan. In fact, some people have a lot of restrictions placed upon them simply for the fact that they listen to the recitation of the Holy Quran. This is the extent to which these people have sunk. This is their so-called Islam. These so-called Muslim clerics have ruined the picture of Islam. In contrast, look how Allah is opening up paths for us in different countries of the world. How are we publishing the Holy Quran? Our publications of the Holy Quran are preferred in many places, in particular the translations. In whichever languages it was done, it drew the attention and attracted people. In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, there is a local missionary who informed that he was distributing leaflets in a particular region, and they also gave some books of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. This increased his scope of tabligh, or preaching. Once 30 kilometers away, one day, from 30 kilometers away, he got a phone call from a non-Ahmadi Muslim who said he wants to purchase the Swahili translation of the Holy Quran. The local missionary stated, "You can get the Holy Quran translation from closer to you." But the non-Ahmadi replied, "I prefer the commentary and translation by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat because it is accepted by wisdom. Even though there are other translations available and commentaries, I want this one." In Mali, Bilal Sahib, a local missionary, states, "We had an exhibition of the Holy Quran. A student came to the book stall and he was introduced to the French translation of the Holy Quran. And it was said that amongst all the translations, the Jamaat's translation in French is the best. He said that he has a better translation at home." This is what the young person said. Anyhow, he went home and he brought the Holy Quran. And he spent more than an hour to try and explain that his translation was better, that is, of the non-Ahmadis. So then he started comparing both translations. He had a curious mindset, but in the end, he was compelled to acknowledge that the translation by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat is the best and was easiest to understand through. Then he purchased a copy of one of our Holy Quran translations and took it back with him. Islam's true teachings and belief in Allah the Almighty. How are the teachings of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat and how is the literature of the Promised Messiah, peace be upon him, impressing this amongst non-Ahmadi Muslims who have a good heart? I will explain through one account. During the occasion of a book fair, there was an individual, a guest who came. He is a computer engineer. This individual, at the stall, he saw the picture of the Promised Messiah and the books of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. After some time, this individual spoke to the local missionary with regretful eyes and said, although I'm standing before you as a Muslim, it is only because of the result of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat who have done a great favor upon me. So they asked him that, are you an Ahmadi? What favor has the Jamaat done upon you? Upon this he responded that I am not an Ahmadi, albeit I became so far removed from religion that I became an atheist. However, my father at home had some old books of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. It included books written by the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. I started studying those books. In it, Hazrat Mirza Sahib, the arguments he presented in favor of the existence of God opened my eyes and I became speechless. I was rendered silent and I started establishing belief in the existence of Allah. So this is an example of how atheistic people have been reverted back through the literature of the Jamaat into believing in God. Then he said, I continued to research the website of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. The arguments presented by the Jamaat strengthen my faith and it increases my knowledge. It is because of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community today that I am a Muslim. In the Western world, where the Quran is being mocked and insulted, for example, in Sweden, in Denmark, in the same places when you present the beautiful teachings of Islam, those same opponents change their attitudes. So today it is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community alone that is, for the sake of elevating the standard of the Holy Quran, for exalting the status of the Holy Quran and explaining its true teachings, are truly active everywhere and using their full efforts. A German lady came to one of our exhibitions of the Quran and the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat's literature. Various subjects were presented in this exhibition, and references of the Quran and the Hadith were also presented in the context of those assigned topics. All of this demonstrated that Islam is never an extremist or terrorist religion. So the lady commented, "It is your community that has explained Islam to us in a very easy manner. Now there is no reason to oppose Islam or to oppose the Holy Quran. To publish the Holy Quran and the literature of Islam published by us and the effect it has upon people, I will explain more accounts in relation to this. In Golaghar Book Fair, there was a professor who visited Shabana Yasmin Sahiba, who is a Muslim. When she saw our stall, the person writing the report said, when she saw our stall, she became delighted. And she came straight to us and to the Assam translation. And she said to her professor colleague that today my dream has been fulfilled. For a long period of time, I was looking for the Assami translation of the Holy Quran. I had a friend who demanded that I do a translation in this language. However, it was impossible for me to do it. I could not complete it, and I became very regretful and sad that I could not do so. I became sad that I am a Muslim and not able to do it. After my father's passing, I received this translation of the Holy Quran. Even if this was at a price of thousands upon thousands, I would have paid the price and bought it. It is purely the grace of the Almighty Allah that even in these far-off, far-flung regions, where often other Muslims do not even have literature of Islam or translations in their languages, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community hold bookstores and is fulfilling their religious and secular needs. Then in the Dimaji Book Fair, there was a lady who came, Banti Davaras. She is making a temple of Lord Shiva and she is preaching regarding the Lord Shiva because she is Hindu. When she saw our stall, she remained absolutely amazed, and she thought that there are very few Muslims in this area, yet there is an Islamic stall being held here, or exhibition. So she came to our stall and became very happy and then went away. The next day she returned and she brought flowers for everyone at the stall. She became very happy seeing that Holy Quran, and purchasing it, she expressed the remarks, "Today, one of my dreams has been fulfilled. I have bought the She bought the Holy Quran, put it against her chest, and took a picture. So from the Czech Republic, it is an Eastern European country where our missionary says that a youngster came to our stall. He explained to us, I have reached the conclusion that there is a being of God. However, I could not understand that which religion could connect me with that God. For a long period of time, I carried out comprehensive studies of all the religions, but I reached the conclusion that it is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community that provides all the answers that really satisfy my heart. I feel spirituality here. Now, these so-called Muslim clerics should inform that who is conveying these impacts and impressions upon these people of the Holy Quran into them. Now look how Allah is opening up the paths of tabligh or preaching himself. There are inspiring accounts regarding this as well. In Pakistan, there are absolute restrictions, complete restrictions from us carrying out any preaching. However, in some other places, despite the fact that we have difficulties, Allah the Almighty creates ease. In Guinea-Bissau, our local missionary says, last summer in Cape Rod Islands, I visited it. During my visit, I felt the intense need that we should have a radio program of our Jamaat. Through this, it would speed up the spreading of the message. Despite a lot of efforts, we could not register our Jamaat for this purpose there. So we could not obtain a radio program. After completing my visit, we printed a lot of leaflets from Guinea-Bissau and we sent it to this place. It was distributed in large numbers in this area. A friend, after reading the leaflet, says that he wanted to learn further about the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, and this is how we came to meet this person. He was informed about the Jamaat, and that guest said, why do you not give your teachings on the radio? And we explained to him we are trying to get a radio program, but our efforts up till now have failed. So then the guest said, I have my own radio station. I am a director of a radio station. You can host a program on my radio station and spread the message of the Jamaat. And this is how Allah the Almighty opened a new path. Then turning to Mali, where our local missionary says that in Jalsa Salana, Mali, in the Kolikoro region or a village, Ahmed Toure Sahib came. He said at this time in Mali, there is a sect who does not give that much importance to Islam, to prayers, but they consider themselves Muslims and they consider Ahmadis as non-Muslims. And he told us that he was part of this same sect. However, his heart was not content. He had a good and righteous heart. He said, although we say that we do not need to say the prayers and we do not need the pillars of Islam, but he was not satisfied with his response. Once he turned on the radio station, it was the Ahmadiyya Jamaat's radio station, and the way of performing prayer was being taught. He listened to this very carefully and curiously and studiously. Afterwards, he kept on listening to the Jamaat radio station. He became certain that these people are true Muslims, but the people of the local village said that all the ulama, Muslim clerics have expelled these people from Islam. He said, I saw these people performing tahajjud, the pre-dawn voluntary prayer. This satisfied my heart. I am not very well versed in the matters of religion, but however much I know about Islam, today I have seen a practical image of it, and today I enter into the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. The final law-giving book, the Holy Quran, which to read, to understand, to study, as I have said, in Pakistan, there is a ban, and this is a great crime if an Ahmadi reads it. It is through the same book that the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat all across the world is spreading the message of Islam and is causing the reformation of humanity. A missionary of Micronesia, Sharjeel Sahib, says, sometime before, Simon Giddin contacted me and he obtained a copy of the Holy Quran. A short while passed when suddenly one day a message appeared from him and he said, I want to meet you. When he came to the mosque, he said, I have studied the Bible studiously all my life, but despite all my efforts, its teachings did not resonate with me. However, since I have started reading the Holy Quran, it felt as if every single word of it reached to the depths of my being. So I was astonished that how could I be wrong my entire life? And how could I be deprived from these teachings of the Holy Quran? He went to his mother after this, and he informed his mother that he was going to the mosque and I'm going to enter into Islam. His other relatives said to him, "You are doing something really wrong," and they started speaking ill against him. Upon this, he said, "You can do whatever you please, but I have become a Muslim by heart." So this Simon said to me, the missionary says, and when he said this to me, he started crying and tears flowed from his eyes. So not only has he entered into the Jamaat, but very bravely and fearlessly he preaches the message of Islam. He does tabligh. Now look how through the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat or community, righteous and good people are entering into true Islam all across the world. National President Ahmadiyya Community Spain says a friend called Francisco, for some time after studying, entered into Islam. He believed Islam to be a true religion, but seeing the ruinous state of Muslims left him in doubt. But he thought that after the period of Hazrat Ali, nobody amongst the Muslims could unite. So he had studied some of the history of Islam. But now he believed that through the system of Khilafat, the Muslims would unite. So he went in search of this Khilafat. In 2023, he met our Ahmadi Tariq Sahib. He advised him to study about Ahmadiyyat. For 3 months, he studied about Ahmadiyyat. And after becoming reassured and certain, he did the Bayat, the Oath of Allegiance, and now he regularly attends the Jummah, the Friday prayer, from Tajikistan. There is a friend, Muftun Sahib. He lives in Kyrgyzstan nowadays. He says, "I work here in Kashgar. There were some Ahmadis in this area." And he mentioned some of the names of those Ahmadis. He said, "I spoke to him for around 3 years about Ahmadiyyat, and after this, I became convinced that Ahmadiyyat is the true Islam and the Imam Mahdi is none other than the promised Messiah. Jesus, son of Nazareth, or Jesus of Nazareth, has passed away. So I entered into the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, and he has requested for prayers that Allah enable me to serve properly and make me a muttaqi, a righteous individual, and enable me to follow the conditions of Bayat." From Russia, our missionary writes, Atahul Wahid Sahib, a youngster was brought towards Islam. For 1.5 years ago, we contacted him. He lived in a small town or village, this youngster. Their father had become far removed from religion, but this person, Marcel, and his wife were from an Orthodox Christian church. So Marcel's elder brother is a Christian, but his father had some links with Islam because they were previously Muslim, his father. So as a result of this, he accepted Islam. So he accepted Sunni Islam. After accepting Islam, he said that he still had many questions in his mind. And the local Muslim clerics did not give satisfactory answers to his questions. So in this agitation and restlessness, Allah the Almighty, through the internet, brought him to connect with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Russia. From there, Marcel received satisfactory responses. And he says that I have tried to understand Islam from many different places, but true Islam I have found only in Ahmadiyyat. So he has done the Bayat, the Oath of Allegiance. From the Philippines, our missionary in charge writes, here in an island, there were over 190 Bayats or Oaths of Allegiance, and this includes some local educated persons. and 4 imams or Muslim leaders have done the bet. One, Haji Isa, Imam, says the Imam that he is the mosque of is now a mosque of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. And some people have even given their land for the sake of the Jamaat, and they intend to build a mission house upon it so they can have a permanent local missionary there. This Imam not only asks people to give money for the funding of this, but he has a business, and he also contributes financially and sacrifices. One day he stated that the financial sacrifices that I have made of around 500 pesos one day, Allah the Almighty, for the sake of strengthening my faith, on the very next day, quite unexpectedly, from some source or the other, gave me an income of 100,000 pesos. Look at how Allah the Almighty is guiding righteous and good-natured people himself. In Sikasso, a region in Mali, the local missionary says that there is a guest who came to our mission house and said he wanted to do the bet. He said that he was listening to the Ahmadiyya radio enthusiastically, and often he was satisfied by the answers we gave, but he was not in agreement to do the bet. He said, yesterday I slept after listening to the radio station. I saw in a dream that the moon is really illuminated, and there are 2 particular images. One is a big image and one is a small image from it, and children are shouting and saying, this is the Imam Mahdi and this is the Khalifa. They have come. So the guest said that he inquired from the elder nearby, are you seeing the same picture? This is in a dream. Upon this, the elder replied in the negative. So he said, then I became satisfied in my heart that Ahmadiyyat is the true community, which is announcing the advent of the Imam Mahdi. And he saw the picture of the promised Messiah and the Khulafa. And he realized that the big picture was of the promised Messiah, and he saw my picture as well. And he said, I saw this all in my dream. National President Ahmadiyya Community Spain says Mr. Carlos did the bet this year, the Pledge of Allegiance. He was a Muslim previously, and his name was called Abdus Salam. He saw in a dream the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, who was saying to him, come towards peace. After the dream, one day his wife was showing him something from the internet when they came across the picture of the promised Messiah. And he said, this is that same person who was calling me towards peace in my dream. Through this, he started researching into Ahmadiyyat. Some days later, he saw the same dream. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, said, I am the Imam Mahdi and the promised Messiah. So after this dream, his heart was inclined towards Ahmadiyyat, but he did not yet do the bet. He continued his research. A third time, he sees the promised Messiah, and he saw some expressions of displeasure upon his face. Then he immediately contacted the Jamaat and did the bet, the Pledge of Allegiance, and entered into Ahmadiyyat.
बावजूद मुखालफीन की इंतहाई कोशिशों के
Attack the opponents, how new Ahmadis express their faith. See these examples. In Burkina Faso, an Ansar of Mahdiabad, an elder, Sayyid Asab, said, the majority of our village has accepted Ahmadiyyat. So then one of my cousins then bore all the expenses and called us to Saudi Arabia, then showing us the house of God, the Khana Kaaba, and said, these are the holy sites of Islam. Islam started from here, not from Pakistan. Therefore, adopt the Wahhabi doctrine and leave Ahmadiyya. This was Saudi funded. So I said, did you call us here for this reason? So then he shook his head in the affirmative. Then I responded, in these holy sites, I pray in the vicinity of it, that during my life, such an occasion should never arise that I should leave Ahmadiyyat. He said, this is what I prayed in the Khana Kaaba, the house of God. So Allah should cause me to die before I ever relent my faith. So then he said, I returned to Burkina Faso. Allah so caused it that the same cousin of his who had invited him to Saudi Arabia came with his relatives to meet him in Burkina Faso. Al-Hajj Ibrahim then preached to him and he became an Ahmadi. So that person who tried to make us into prey himself succumbed to Ahmadiyyat. Now see how opposition led to determination and resolve. Staying in Burkina Faso, the national president says that a local missionary of the Dori region, Umar Dahir Sahib, one day a Wahhabi group came to their home and said, "Relent from Ahmadiyyat," and they threatened him that otherwise we will kill you. Umar Sahib said that you may kill me. However, there is no question of leaving Ahmadiyyat, nor will I ever stop doing tabligh or preaching. I will continue it. Upon this, they became enraged and left. The next day, some people came the next day with weapons, and Ahmadis advised him to go to Dori. Allah the Almighty, so the local missionary in a dream saw a person called Ismail and said, "Oh Umar, where do you go?" So as a result of this dream, the next day he migrated. So someone then transported him here on a rickshaw, and as he reached Dori, his wife called and said, "The terrorists with weapons are coming and searching for you." This is how Allah the Almighty also saved his life. From Nigeria, in the Osun state, in a village, Badr Idrimi Sahib, he was unable to accept Ahmadiyyat. He is a farmer. Before he accepted Ahmadiyyat, he was the head of an opposition group to the Jamaat in his area. In the village, our local missionary says that he was introduced to the Jamaat, and he says that I became more interested in learning about Ahmadiyyat. After researching further, I accepted Ahmadiyyat, but I faced fierce opposition from the people of the village. I was told that if you do not leave Ahmadiyyat within 3 months, we will destroy your home. So it was very concerning. I went one day to work on the farm when there was a severe storm. I thought when I return home, it will end. When I come home, what do I see? That on the right and left and in front and behind my home, around 50 homes in all directions have been destroyed. Not only the roofs of the home, in fact, all the homes were reduced to rubble. During this time, the opponents thought that when you accepted Ahmadiyyat, your home will be destroyed. But I had prayed that if this is the true Jamaat, and if the promised Messiah is that real promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi who was prophesied to come by the Holy Prophet, then do not let my home get destroyed. When the rain subsided, I entered into my home and I observed that every room was protected. Nobody was caused any harm, whereas the homes in all directions had been destroyed. After this incident, my belief in Ahmadiyyat became even more strengthened. I was convinced that this community is truly a divine community. Anyhow, in different countries of the world, this is how Allah the Almighty is gracing our community. The help and succor of Allah is found in all directions with support of the promised Messiah. It was He who brought us the true teachings of Islam, and this is the biggest argument in favor of the truthfulness of Ahmadiyyat. And with the grace of Almighty Allah, this is strengthening the hearts of many people. Now see, may Allah open the eyes of people and humanity, and may Allah enable them to accept the true message. There are some funerals or people who had passed away that I will now mention. But I should also say this. During these days, COVID is now reappearing. People should take precautions in this respect as well. With relation to the people who have passed away, the first is Abdul Hadi Sahiba, wife of Pir Ziauddin Sahib. Dr. Mir Muhammad Ismail Sahib's daughter she was. She passed away at the age of 92 recently. Surely to Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. Her son, Pir Shabir, he is Naib Amir, Deputy President of Islamabad Jamaat, and Brigadier Dabir Sahib is the administrator of the Fazli Umar Hospital. He did Waqf after retirement, and he has two daughters as well. Or she had two daughters. The one who passed away had two daughters. The son writes, the siblings, all of us, from childhood always saw our mother regular in prayers and recitation of the Holy Quran. Someone who gave financial sacrifice regularly and regularly watched MTA. She always partook in the appeals of the community, and she had chanda of financial contributions in the Daftar Awal. The Pakistan-India war that occurred, Brigadier Ziauddin Sahib, the husband of the one who passed away, he was in eastern Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, and he stayed there for a long period of time. Bir Dabir and my mother and sister were all present. So mother and younger sister were then sent away. But she remained concerned. But she never expressed her concern upon us children. In fact, she always gave us determination. And after 6 months, the brigadier returned from there. She always advised and counseled on Eid to take care of the poor people, to help them. Every year she would send a large amount to Humanity First. Dr. Nouri has mentioned this, to establish wells for the education of the children, to install hand pumps, to provide clothes and food to poor people. Abdul Qadir Talat, the daughter of the one who passed away, says she always recited Holy Quran aloud. She never backbited against anyone, and she always told other people not to do so. She had great devotion with Khilafat. She regularly watched MTA and the Friday sermons. And on every occasion she explained to us that there is great benefit in reading the literature of the Jamaat, and she enthusiastically read it herself. And she would study it meticulously. She was very social and met people happily. Her granddaughter writes, whenever we learnt a new chapter of the Holy Quran, she would give us a reward and encourage us. I remember that always after Fajr, she did long tasbih, glorifying of Allah. And she always encouraged me and inculcated me to do this. She read the Holy Quran, she read Hadithatul Salihin, the way of the seekers, and also Ruhani Khazain, the spiritual treasures and compilation of the promised Messiah. May Allah grant mercy and forgiveness to her, and may her good ways continue amongst her progeny and future generations and children. The next is Saqib Kamran Sahib, who passed away, who is our Waqf-e-Zindagi life devotee, Naib Vakil, Deputy Director of Sami Basri Audio and Video, who passed away recently. It is believed by the doctors that he died due to food poisoning. Another tragedy is that Saqib Sahib, after he died, his son Aqib Kamran, from the same food that was eaten, also passed away. Surely to Allah they belong, and to them they will return. Saqib Kamran's great-grandfather, Hazrat Chaudhry Mullah Bagh Sahib of Gurdaspur, did the Pledge of Allegiance of the Promised Messiah directly. Kamran Sahib did the life devotion and enrolled into Jamia, the Ahmadiyya training seminary for missionaries. Allah granted him with one daughter and two sons. Ramesa Kashfa of 17 years old, and Ghalib Kamran is 13. And the third son passed away with him. The entire family suffered to this, but the rest of them survived by the grace of Allah. After graduating from Jamia, he was appointed in Nazarat Islah or Irshad, the department. Then he was made to specialize in hadith, the traditions of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and was selected for this purpose. After this, in the Department of Education in Tehreek-e-Jadid, he was also sent to Syria to study. But due to the circumstances locally, he had to return, or perhaps for some other reason. After this, in December 2018, the Tehreek-e-Jadid studio was made, and he was made Naib Vakil Deputy Director Audio and Video. And until he passed away, he continued to serve in this capacity. For 18 years, he served in total. His mother, Sadka Begum Sahiba, writes, Kamran was born before the Waqf-e-No scheme, and he asked Hazrat Khalifa Masih IV, the fourth caliph, can you include my two young sons in this scheme? The fourth caliph accepted and allowed them to join. His wife says he was a very amazing person, which is difficult to describe in words. He always offered prayers carefully. He had great devotion to Khilafat. He always took care of the trust of the Jamaat. He always loved all his relations and connections and friends. In every friendship and relation, he showed great care. And he always took care of everyone and members of the Jamaat. He tried to bring up his children with the best moral and spiritual training or tarbiyat. His mother has also written that the command of the Quran to not even utter a word of disrespect before your parents, he embodied. He never spoke with a loud voice to his parents. He always kept the secrets of others. He always protected the trusts of the office work. We always heard things from other people, and then we asked him about it, and he would say, I'm not going to tell you because this is a trust that I have to protect. He had great attention towards performing prayer in congregation. He always even told his children to do so. And he strove to help his wife take care of her and fulfill the needs of his children. He had a great devotion of loyalty with all his relations. His daughter, Romesa, states, my father was a very humble and modest person, and person who had far-sighted vision and a person of many qualities. He had a very unique way of training. Sometimes through expressions he trained. He tried his best to train us, and he always reminded us that we are Waqf-e-No. And he said that you should realize this. I used to ask many things freely to him, but he never hesitated in giving a response to me, no matter what his state was. Rohan Ahmad Sahib, a missionary who is nowadays a prisoner in the way of Allah, says that I had a long period of time where I worked and was trained under him. I always found him like a compassionate friend guiding me. He was a very gentle person of good moral qualities. He had excellent skills and capabilities. He was a very devout servant of the faith, and his humbleness and patience was great. Pray for these prisoners in the way of Allah. May Allah quickly grant them the means of release. Also, for the one who passed away, may Allah grant forgiveness and mercy and increase his ranks. And to the bereaved family, the mother, the wife, the children, may Allah grant them patience and steadfastness. And may his good and pious ways continue amongst his children. The third person I will mention is Professor Dr. Muhammad Ishaq Dawood Sahib of Khartoum, Benin. He passed away recently at the age of 60. Surely to Allah we belong, and to him we shall return. He was from Dawood Khandan family in Benin, who were amongst the very first converts of Benin. The first Ahmadi of Benin, Zikrullah Dawood Sahib, was his paternal uncle. His father Isa remained the deputy national president for some time. In 1980, when he was a student, then to Zikrullah Dawood Sahib, the late, through his preaching, this person accepted Ahmadiyyat, who passed away. After accepting Ahmadiyyat, with his uncle, he preached to his parents, and after some time, his parents then became Ahmadi. In 2022, from Senegal, from university, he did a PhD in zoology. After this, he returned to Benin and was appointed as a professor at one of the universities. Through his capabilities, he was invited to many international conferences. He served as national president, youth auxiliary, Sadr Khudam for many years. In the age of his studentship, he did Vasiyat, and amongst the Benin Ahmadis, he is amongst that perhaps the very first Musi, the one who did join the Vasiyat scheme. Rehana Dauda Sahiba, his wife, who currently is the National Secretary Tarbiyat of Lajna, the Ladies Auxiliary Organization, said, after marriage, through my husband's preaching, I accepted Ahmadiyyat. He taught me the Holy Quran recitation, and is a very sincere, devout, trustworthy, simple person. He was always ready to serve the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. He regularly performed the Tahajjud, pre-dawn voluntary prayer, and he would always advise me to read the Holy Quran at home, so that the mercy of God can descend into our house. She says, when she was appointed as the vice dean of the university, one day a lady came to me crying and said, my daughter is failing. Please, can you pass her? If she does not pass, my husband will not give the fees and will actually beat her. And we will give you a lot of money, please accept this. So she said, if I was to accept by giving money to pass, then a poor person would never be able to pass. So you have brought a bribe. I will not work like this as an Ahmadi. Keep this money with you and use this money for the fees. If there is any shortcoming in the fees, I will give the rest of it. But this recommendation or bribe that you are trying to tempt me with, I will not accept. Anyhow, that other lady left that money there. So they took it to the accountant. So they asked that lady, who you do not even know. She said, the university accountant informed me. Anyhow, they went to that university accountant, gave it to, and said, give it back. They summoned a meeting of the university. There, the entire matter was discussed. Upon this, all the professors who had joined, who were the executive board, they said, she had brought 300,000 francs. This is 150,000. Anyhow, the accountant had taken some amount themselves. Anyhow, the opponents wanted that she should be removed from her position as vice dean with the allegation of a bribe, but they were unsuccessful. And the other people of the university later all said that this is a very trustworthy individual. She always took care of the poor widows in her neighborhood. She repaired the homes of certain people. She would take care of the needs of other children. She would fulfill the requirements of other people in some way or the other. So many professors of the Department of Agriculture came to give condolences upon her passing. And the in-charge, Dr. Ibrahim of the department, professor, said, this is a very humble and trustworthy and capable person. So there's a French word she was well known as, and this meant she is someone who gave blessings to everyone. So whatever she had in her pocket, so to speak, she would give. She never left anyone empty-handed. She always contributed. She had great trust in Allah the Almighty. Hasaq Dawood Sahib had great love with the Holy Prophet, the promised Messiah, and the Khulafa. And he would pray that, oh Allah, the Holy Prophet was 63 years old. Do not allow me to live greater than this. When a missionary was informed that he went to France for heart surgery because he became a heart patient. He was wearing a alayhi salah, a ring which had the verse of the Quran that Allah is sufficient for His servants. And he said, I will not take this off until my death, and because I always remember the blessings of Allah. the missionary in charge says, when I was the regional missionary, whatever income that he had, he put in for his contribution of alms or jannah and wasiyat, and he took out the amount immediately and said, provide me the receipt. He always would smile. And upon every tribulation and difficulty, he would say that I am praying and I have written to the prayer to the Khalifa, Allah will grant me ease. He leaves behind his wife, 2 daughters and 2 sons. His elder daughter, Maktara Daud Sahib, is doing a PhD in agriculture. Both sons, Raqib Daud, and another is studying in computing and IT. May Allah the Almighty enable them to follow in the footsteps of their father and grant mercy and forgiveness to the one who passed away and increase his ranks. Inshallah, God willing, after the Friday prayer, there will be the funeral prayer.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر